our Tuesday discussion. Today with Sandra Gern from egoFM. Maybe just a quick question. Who of you listens to radio? Okay. Half of the group, I would say, maybe even more than that. Who of you listens to egoFM? 2, okay. Who of you know about egoFM? Okay. More than, I would say like half, or like at least a third. Okay, that's a good start, actually. And after that session today, you might all going to be listening to egoFM, because we're going to learn something exciting about the broadcasting station today. And we're going to learn about what Sandra is actually doing at egoFM and what she's doing besides her job at egoFM. So egoFM is a popular local broadcasting station based in Munich, but also in other cities across Bavaria. And Sandra is known for her, I could actually say she's famous for her Chelsea Hotel show, which is a show that she hosts on egoFM and for which she won the German Radio Award in 2020, which is a really highly acknowledged award, the Deutscher Radio Preis. So she's actually well known for this radio show, but she's also internally known for promoting environmental debates at egoFM, which sometimes result into, let's say, week-long features on climate protection, on environmental awareness, and on other topics related to sustainability. And Sandra just told me that she's been working for egoFM for almost 8 years now. Before that, she worked for Red Bull, and before that, she studied in Salzburg and Shanghai communication science. So, and she's from that area. She's originally coming from Bad Tölz. And you say about yourself that your main job at egoFM is to moderate the Chelsea Hotel and to conduct interviews for that, and to also coordinate on-air and online topics. And you said that your colleagues think somewhat differently about what you're doing when you're moderating the show Chelsea Hotel, that you're basically just hanging out with a bottle of whiskey in dimmed light with indie bands, talking about music and life, and listening to New Order, and pondering on how great the original Chelsea Hotel in New York was in the 1960s. I mean, that sounds great too, that's tempting, definitely, but I think...
It's not how it is.
But I think there's actually more to your job than that, which, I mean, is still great, but you have even more facets in your job, especially related to environmental issues. And I haven't mentioned that you're also a singer-songwriter and a producer, and actually the founder of a band called Polar Noir, which recently released their first two songs. I mean, I think you have more than 2 songs, but those are the ones that you just released. And there's actually your first song, which is called If Everybody Listened. And it's a song where you apologize to all living beings in the ocean for our human behavior towards lives on this planet. And maybe if we have time afterwards, we can listen to the song. If we don't have time today, then you can look it up on the internet. The band is called Polar Noir, and the song is called If Everybody Listened. And I have to say, I was close to tears when I watched it, so I'll leave it to you. Okay, so I think I'll just stop here, but maybe just one more thing. So egoFM as a radio station has recently turned climate neutral. Actually, very recently, in April 2021, egoFM has become 100% climate neutral. And they published their first common good report, which is in German, Gemeinwohlbilanzbericht. One of these long German words, Gemeinwohlbilanzbericht. And yeah, I think it would be interesting to hear from you how you actually achieve that goal, what the radio station egoFM is doing for that, and we're just excited to hear about who you are. So everyone, join me in welcoming Sandra Gern.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for the kind introduction. I don't have that much more to add about me. I'm really happy to be here to talk today about how to deal with environmental issues on the radio, especially how we do it at egoFM. And we've already heard some facts, and we already know that some of you know egoFM, so this is cool. Yes, you already said we're based in Munich. We're a private radio station, so that means we are 100% dependent on advertising. We are not funded by any of the public broadcasting fee, the GEZ in German, GEZ-Gebühr. And we focus on alternative music and pop culture, and actually on all topics that we feel are a bit underrepresented in other media. And therefore, we always search for a new approach how to mainstream topics, but we kind of try to view them through a certain egoFM point of view. And maybe our vision might be interesting to you as well. We believe in a tolerant world. This is why we give diversity a voice. And yeah, as we already mentioned, you can listen to us in a lot of different ways. Via VHS, very old-fashioned, like the old typical radio is in different cities. But also via DAB+, you can listen to us in the whole state of Bavaria, in Baden-Württemberg, in parts of Saxony, and also just recently, actually, since November, you can also listen to us in North Rhine-Westphalia, so also in Cologne and Düsseldorf. So we're still pretty excited about that we're kind of extending the area. So yeah, why am I here? First of all, environmental concerns are based in our core values as a company. So we've got different values like passion for music, equality, diversity, tolerance, and also ecological and public-spirited action. So we have that really in our core values, and in line with giving diversity a voice, we mean that on a lot of different levels. Like, for example, we support bands that might be underrepresented in other media because, or on like social like groups in society that might be underrepresented, or topics. So therefore, we think environmental issues definitely need more attention. So that's what we want to do. As you mentioned before, we have become CO2 neutral this year. We're the first VHS radio station in Germany that has done that. And we basically work together with an agency, and they helped us first analyze our emissions and then kind of figure out like in which areas we can save the most. And we have already, in 2020, we have already saved 41 tons of CO2, but there are still 40 tons left. So we offset that by supporting a climate protection project in Uganda. And of course, the goal in the future is to reduce further emissions, so we don't have to compensate as much in the future. Then also we are part of the Gemeinwohlökonomie movement, economy for the common good. It's a worldwide social movement that advocates for an alternative economic model that is beneficial to the people, the planet in general, and to future generations. And also we support a network. It's called Music Declares Emergency, and it's a network where like people from the music industry come together. Also, a lot of artists, and they connect, and like they both want to demand political change, but also see what their own field can do for climate, for a more environmentally friendly industry. You might have heard of the slogan "No future on a dead, no music on a dead planet." They've got really cool T-shirts, so maybe you see them somewhere. So let's talk about the role of media in the climate crisis. And I say climate crisis, but I kind of mean it in a like could be any environmental topic. It's just a bit shorter, so I repeat it a lot, and it's probably the best example to explain it. Media have a very important role. They are a translator between science and public discourse. A journalist has to classify world events according to their the aspects of social relevance, news value, and factual relevance. And also media determine the perceived importance of a topic. So if something is never on the media, the public might assume, oh, it cannot be that important, so because otherwise everyone would be talking about it. So yeah, we have an influence by giving it a certain space, time, and exposure. And then an aspect I find really interesting is that journalists also have, they are in a dual role, because the climate crisis affects everyone. So they are also involved on a personal level. They might be in a process where they have to process their awareness themselves, and on the other hand, they have to point out different solutions and cover the topic. So this might also be a bit controversial in some cases. Yeah, the radio has a special role within media, because for people to believe what you publish, media have to gain a certain level of trustworthiness. And there's a study by the European Broadcasting Union that shows that radio enjoys the highest level of trust among all popular media in Germany and the EU. So I think this is very important, because especially in times of media overload, I think the relationship between the media and the audience is even more important. So yeah, as in conclusion, we as a radio station, we are aware of that responsibility we have as a medium and also as a radio station. So yeah, we want to give environmental issues the attention it deserves, and according to their importance and also on the impact they have. Yeah, I wanted to share that with you because I found it. This was a post that went kind of viral this summer, and it shows an article of a newspaper that was published in 1912, and it says coal consumption affecting climate. So that was actually more than 100 years ago. And this leads us to some problems. So we know that the climate crisis is not new, but the media coverage didn't have enough impact as it should have, according to the data the scientific data we had in the past. And so therefore, even if it's an old issue, we're not giving it the importance in the media that we actually should. And one of the reasons, I believe, is because environmental topics always compete with other topics. So we have the pandemic, we have Brexit, we have the refugee crisis, we have a lot of different things going on in the media, and the climate crisis always competes with the other topics. And therefore it's a bit complicated, because it might suggest that it's an equal topic to the others, so we can treat it equally, but that's actually not true, because the climate crisis affects all the other topics, so we have to treat it prioritized, because otherwise it will be really hard for an audience to really grasp the scale of the problem. And then another reason why it might not be the most famous topic is it's very complex. So you need to have a lot of knowledge to talk about it, and you also need to have a lot of knowledge to actually understand it. And there's a high risk of overwhelming people. And especially, this is also very true for us. We also want to entertain people. We don't want to talk about news all the time. So there's actually a kind of dilemma between entertainment and serious topics. So the question is also for us, but I believe for a lot of other media as well. How can we still make environmental topics sound attractive on the radio or on other media? But we have found some solution that we believe that work for us. And we have. I will go through these. Through most of the topics. As we know, it's an old topic, and we've all heard about starving polar bears and rising sea level. So our job is to always find something new within that old topic and find pick an interesting aspect that might draw attention. And then around that, we still have time to actually explain the underlying problem. And another thing that I believe is very important is to make it personal and emotional, because people relate to people. So if you hear someone on air talking, expressing how something makes them feel, there's a high chance that we can relate to it a bit better. And plus, we deal a lot with music, so music itself is highly emotional, so it's actually a very good environment to talk about emotions. Dosing is very important because, as I said, we want to entertain people, we want to make people feel good, so we really have to dose the amount of bad news wisely. But even more important for us is timing, because radio is a linear medium, so we always have to be aware where someone listens. In the morning it's usually very, very stressful, people are rushing to work or to university, and so if we imagine you're just ready to start a new day, you're in a good mood, and then you hear some really heavy news, we're all going to die because of the climate change, this wouldn't make sense. So because you probably would turn off the radio, because you cannot skip or forward, you just can't turn off, and we don't want people to turn off the radio, of course. So what we do is we take pieces, smaller bits of the topic, and often in a more entertaining or sometimes humorous way, and we place them in the morning, because the morning is actually important. It's our prime time at the radio, between 7 and 9 a.m. And we use that to place the topic, but tell people where they can get further information later when they're more ready for it. For example, online, an interview on demand, or maybe later on air, we might have someone on for an interview who's diving a bit deeper into it. So timing is important. Communication at eye level, I think that's important for a lot of things, but especially in regards to the climate crisis, because we feel, especially as an entertainment medium, we feel we're all in this boat together. So it should never be us telling you this is the right way. We rather want to offer to walk this path together, and we are willing to use all the resources we have as a radio station to make this path more efficient and also a bit more fun, because it needs to be fun as well, I believe. We don't want to spread fear, we want to spread solutions. So it's important to always give a positive outlook. So because if someone's really moved or maybe even disturbed by a piece of information, that's actually a very valuable moment, and in that moment you have to offer some assistance where to go next, and where someone can be part of the solution. So this is really important to always give a positive outlook. The interdisciplinary approach is actually one of my favorites, because we try to avoid to say hey, attention, so now we're gonna hear about an environmental topic and then talk about climate change or something. We rather try to integrate in all other topics. So let's say we have each week we have a certain special topic on, and 1 week we just talked about pets, for example. And so our job was to find, okay, what can we tell people about pets concerning the environmental issues? So, okay, did you actually know how many emissions your dog causes, or are there any sustainable toys? Or so we try to integrate the actual topic into another topic, and that has a big advantage, because as we said, the topics are competing with each other, and in that case, if it's integrated, they don't have to compete each other. And I also think it's good if it's just treated as something normal, because it's part of everything basically. Community interaction is also important. I mean, there are so many ways to interact with as a medium. We have social media. You can write emails. We have an app where you can drop a voice message. And so this is really easy, and I think it's also very valuable because since it's affecting it affects everyone and everything. I think it's not surprising that within our audience there might be people that actually know in a certain field know more than we do, or the public knows. And so I think it makes really sense to use this kind of swarm intelligence and communicate with our audience in this case. And also it makes it more relevant if you hear that there are so many other people also talking about it. But as we know, social media is sometimes a bad place. There will be people that don't like it and they criticize you, and we always have to be a bit prepared for haters. And I think it's really valuable if we really love critical, constructive feedback, but we will not treat fake news as opinions. So we also have to manage our community, especially on social media. Continuity is kind of, we shouldn't stop talking about it. And authenticity is I think very important, especially in times of greenwashing. A lot of people might say, they've become climate neutral. Yeah, that sounds good. You can make a good press release. So transparency is actually in this context very important. And I would like to give a short example. What we did with our process becoming part of the economy for the common good movement, because it was, I think, a year ago, a bit more than a year ago, we established a work group at egoFM with 7 people, from all different departments. I was also part of it, and we first analyzed our own company by certain parameters. So that would be, for example, mobility, energy, bank, where do we actually have our money, or supply chains, where does our money go to, what do we actually buy. And so we were kind of doing, we were presenting our results kind of in real time. So for 12 weeks, every week we would say, okay, this week is gonna be, we're gonna have a look at our, where's our money? Okay, is there maybe a better way how, which bank we should choose? And so we did that, and we always try to give an overview on the research we did, and then we told the people, okay, this is what you actually can do, and this is what we decided to do as a next step, because you can never do everything at the same time. And it was really transparent, and because we were kind of saying okay, we should really change our electricity provider and change to a green one, which we hadn't done before. We were saying okay, we are not perfect yet, so but we're trying to be better. And by that, I think of course we want to lead by example, but I think it's way more inspiring and motivating if you hear it's okay to just start somewhere and maybe get some inspiration how you can actually do it, because it's also it varies very much from company to company. So that's how we dealt with transparency in this case. So beside all the examples I gave, I would just say in general, we have to admit that reporting on environmental topics is very complex. We have to be aware of our own responsibility, because we determine the importance perceived in the how this topic is perceived in the public. We have to educate ourselves in order to be able to classify all the events happening. And I saw this sentence in a book that was released by the psychologist for Future, and I really liked it because they dropped the line, we must bring the climate awareness out of the heads and into the hearts. And I think that's very true, because most people, I think, know somehow that we have to do something, but they don't really feel it. So I believe media have to make these topics tangible on an emotional level. And I think especially media, entertaining, music are very good ways to actually do that, to reach people on an emotional level. And yeah, therefore, we think as egoFM we might have quite good prerequisites to do that, and we are kind of figuring out how we can do that better in the future. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.